Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot and to another episode of the Elite TA weekly session. These are sessions that we organize once a week. We cover multiple coins that people in my Patreon community select. This week we have Solana, Uni, XRP, Hype, AERO with 3 votes, SUI, Virtuals, Ondo, Ethereum. This one that I suppose is a meme coin, never done this one before, is called PURR, PURR. Cardano, of course, Link, PYTH, N or PYTH or whatever it's called, sorry, near Bitcoin and Ton from Telegram. We got some coins that we have already covered multiple times this week, so I'm not sure I'm going to cover them that much in depth. If you are now in the live stream, if you're part of the elite members of my Patreon, you can definitely confirm if you have any specific question. That's the whole point of the elite, that you get the chance to ask anything you want live in a small group. If you want to be part of this, you can always join my Patreon. The link is in the description. We do it every Thursday and we are ready to get started. Let's go with Solana. So Solana, I'm just pretty much going to summarize, wrap up what I already say yesterday and 2 days before on Solana, which is we are getting very close to a golden pocket in here. There is an area of value definitely there. If we retrace, ideally, we do not want to retrace beyond the golden pocket, which starts from 141 and ends at around 130. So that to me is a bullish retracement. Beyond that, we start, playing with fire, because at that point, this move up starts looking like a dead cat bounce with a potential new low incoming. If we start playing with below $130, that is where we could get. On the bull side, what we can argue, if we are really supporting Solana to the upside, is that we haven't yet gotten into the 0.5 to 0.618, the golden pocket of this move up. So we could argue that this is just an internal pullback and that we are still due for the next leg up to complete the golden pocket retracement from the fall. And if we get there, we are entering definitely in bullish territory for confirmation, not for entry, right? I wouldn't enter at 200. I enter, half the price of that. That was the entry. Between 100 and 115 was the entry I gave you when I sold at 270. And at that point, people were telling me, "Are you nuts? We're barely gonna get to 200." Well, we got to 100, not just to 100. We got to below 100. So now, if we get into 200, we go back into bullish, but I wouldn't enter from there. At that point, I will decide to continue holding. When it comes to the weekly RSI, we have another breakdown. It's been just bleeding and bleeding in terms of the momentum. Even at the new highs of almost $300, momentum was already pointing down and kind of spelling with a bearish divergence the doom that we were going to be here at some point in a channel down. And here we are. We haven't broken out from the global resistance. There is some additional attention from socials into Solana, so that's something positive. Make sure that you watch also my videos, so covering as well everything to do with the news. And when it comes to liquidation levels, Solana has a little bit of liquidations below the price that we were talking about. And thanks to this head and shoulder, we got that bearish technical target of $100 again. Yeah, the high of the head unfortunately points to $100. But my case is that we are probably, and not probably, it's most likely that we go with the liquidity up until 130. If we just do that, we are also still within this descending parallel channel and we hit the support. Okay, and at that point we get the bull case, which is to just do the liquidity hand, reclaim 140 and head to the upside into 200 and 192. That's the full kind of thesis I have. Of course, it can be absolutely wrong, and I don't have any trouble with admitting if it is. But if we get into that golden pocket, and then we can go into the golden pocket to the upside. If you have any specific questions about Solana, just leave them down in the description. If you're watching this video on Friday, that means that you're not part of the elite Patreon. You should join and be part of this cool group so we can do TA together every Thursday. But if you're watching the video on Friday, it's already a recording. So you can leave me still the questions, but not in the live chat, which makes you a cool person and a supporter of the channel officially. Let's go with the next coin. I got some greetings from Montenegro, Neapolis. How are you doing? I hope you have better weather than we have in here in Newcastle in the UK. and the Adriatic Sea is claiming you here. Oh yeah, I would love to go. If I could, I would. I'm going to Montenegro in September. So you see, we are not just talking about TA in the group. Let's go with Uniswap is doing pretty well these days. Look at this. First of all, I like Uni. I like the TA of Uni. There's plenty of coins that are very disappointing this cycle. I mean, in general, they're all disappointing, but there are some gray areas in there. For example, Uni is still defending the highs and is still defending these lows. You know already that many are not. So that is a plus. We have a lower low in here, but we have a higher high. So it's kind of in the middle, doing some things good and some things bad. And in this area in here, what I'm seeing is that first we have a double bottom that was below 5.8, and that target already got hit. So we went into into $8. We managed to get there. We saw a reaction against $8. And now we are going potentially, thanks to this most recent price action, we've been at $7.5. So we are above the second neckline. Let me zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So I'm talking about this double bottom that already took us probably around into $7 to $8 target, right? So that's done. So what are we playing now? We are playing either with a cap and handle in here that can take us, I think I already did it, into $9.5. And we are now doing 30% of that. So it's looking good. And the target makes a lot of sense from the technical point of view. I'm not talking about probabilities, just the technicals are in confluence with this order block. So we could get there just to hit liquidity that's probably sitting right above that level that dragged the price down 50%. So it's worth going there from the point of view of market maker. There must be liquidity, and it's attracting a lot of new people. We haven't had 0.88% of social dominance since June 2024. So this is almost a year that it's been extremely quiet for Uni, and now it's gaining social momentum, and that has definitely attracted a lot of longs after they come down in here. I had the feeling that the past week we were talking about this area, right? This was on 17th of March. Since 17th of March, there's more and more and more longs. So you need to be careful here. If you're riding that long, you need to know, the must know in here is that you are at the highest levels of longs that you have seen in 2000 days. Okay, so it's quite extraordinary situation, and momentum hasn't managed to get beyond 50 on the weekly. So there's lots of headroom from the point of view of momentum, but from the point of view of concentration of longs, it's, let's say, a little bit risky. And probably we're going to see some additional volatility in here, shaking off some of the excessive amount of longs. That's the typical thing. And when it comes to liquidation levels, let's see what we need to be on the lookout. Sorry, I'm doing Union. What am I doing here? Liquidation levels, hopefully we get the 1 month. On the 1 month, oh wow, that is very heavy at 5.7. So yeah, that excessive amount of longs, what happens if we go to 5.7? What do we break? 5.7, ooh, that's a big retracement. So with 5.7, basically we are coming back to the scene of the crime of the first double bottom. So the first double bottom has a neck at 5.8, and a retracement to liquidate that is kind of a retest, but there's been so much retest around that area. I'm surprised that we have a 5.7 still so much liquidity. I guess because of these two candles. These two weekly candles are responsible for that liquidity there, 1 and 2. Yeah. And in between there is not that much. So I'm trying to find a compromise, something to give in the mouth of market maker to not need to go that far. And we got 6.9 and 6.6, but really 5.7 is the most attractive one. So watch out with your stop loss there in case we had such a decent retracement from here. At the moment we are against the resistance of $8, and if we get into $8, that's halfway through towards the final target of 9.4 relative to this cap and handle of or inverse head and shoulders, whichever is the same. The target is the same. Right. Anything else? Yeah, I mentioned the longs. Let's go with SUI. We got again, another video yesterday. That's the update yesterday. They're all going out in the main channel, so you can find them. And SUI, it's breaking down in here on the weekly relative to these two pivots in there. So that's something that I'm not liking. But we are in the golden pocket. So if we don't go beyond $2.7, we are in a great area to be. Let me explain why. If we go SUI in here, you're gonna see that we are in a descending wedge and a falling wedge, and we are in a confluence of two great signals: the support of 2.7, which spans to multiple times, multiple touches as a resistance and support, and also is the bottom of the wedge. So the wedge can react in two ways. Those are the two most likely ways. Number one is go there and continue to stay in the wedge, and number two is break out from the bottom of the wedge at this point, because we have tested the bottom multiple times. It is less likely, but still possible, that we wick down, right? And remember that this also has a head and shoulders. Pretty much all crypto on the daily has a head and shoulder due to geopolitical tensions. So if this plays out as a technical target, well, targets are probably around the 1.5 or pretty low. If we don't do the technical target and we just wick down below, just like I did with XRP, then we can go into 247 and hopefully reclaim very quickly the wedge, so we can carry on into 4.3 and beyond that, even $5. So I recommend that you watch my video for deeper analysis on that coin, on SUI. But I think these things are constantly changing. So I already did SUI. I'm getting confused. XRP also has some boats, but I just put out the video. So I prefer that you go into that video and you watch it in depth, so it's not duplicate content. But if you have any specific question, just leave it in the comments up there, and I'm more than happy to go back to XRP. Let's go with Hype. And Hype, I've been doing the analysis on the daily just because there's not enough history. When we got in here, I say that that's going to be the highest momentum, but not necessarily the highest price. And you can see that right after we hit 39, we managed to go to 45. That's another 50% up. And that definitely was the top of the momentum. And now we are in the territory of channel down, right? And we got the pivots, so we can see more or less where are the high likely areas of bounce for the pivots. We got a level at 42, and then we got a resistance at around 60. So we can add a channel 42 and 60. Let's do that. 60 and 42. And let's bring it in. So for a breakout from this descending channel, if we are looking for an early breakout, why I'm saying early, because we are at 60, right? So we haven't really gone to the bottom of the channel. So that is if we are bullish in here for additional continuation to upside, then we should be looking for that sort of breakout. I think being in this channel down, breaking out from 60 is one, low likely, two, dangerous, because you know how much higher can we get here if we are already in the territory of the bearish divergences. Typically, you produce further bearish divergences from there. They say that the trend is your friend. It's not just the trend, but the trend of the momentum, like if it was inception, the trend of the momentum is also your friend. If you are already in bearish divergences, continue looking for them. That is kind of the takeaway from today. So there's also this line of support, and I'm appreciating how perfect it is, and probably is catching the eyes of a lot of people, because I'm not doing any trick. This is not logarithmic. If I did logarithmic, it will look like this. It messes the whole thing up. But just in normal scale, you can see that we've been defending these levels, and we're back there. The last time we've been touching this line was on 21st of May. So it's been roughly 1 month that we don't touch the trend line. We are right there. If we break this one, we got next support at 35, and then the RSI is giving us that support in confluence with around 32. That is already with a breakdown of that long-term support there. You can see that RSI broke halfway through down. It came for a retest, a revenge rally with this move, and that's it, channel down, right? Whereas price has been been persistent with the move up and is just now catching up with what the momentum has already gone. In terms of longs versus shorts, interestingly, there's still a lot of longs in here. So that can mean two things: that they're going to defend a bit more, but it also means that there is a ton of cash to be taken out of them if they get rug pulled. So if you were a market maker and you probably look at indicators like this, not this one, but you have probably way better than this one, to say how much can I really trap. And once you get them all in the same trap, you just squash them all at once and you squeeze the juice out of them. And this hit the top percentile at 62. That's not very high. The percentile gets into 100, but relative to the amount of longs that you usually see on Hype, this is the highest it gets on 17th of June, and it has retraced from 62 into 50, so 12 points, but there's still a lot of room to squeeze them down, and it can move very fast, right? So this went up very quick, it went down very quick, so there can be some squeezes in the way that can be really hurtful. Be careful with trading these coins. Always assume, understand the risk of doing this kind of things. Is very important to do that. Notice as well that we had a target in here to $45 that got hit. I don't know in which video I talk about that, but if there is this line, it means that I did it at some point. Possibly this was coming from this cap and handle. Yeah, because you have the handle there and the cap, and we broke out from 28 and we went to 45 and we managed to reach the target in 99%. So we got the support. I mentioned support, resistance. Let's go with liquidity levels on the 1 month. And today I'm being a good Argentinian. Unfortunately, oh, why? There's no data. That's very disappointing. Let's try once again. No, just 2 weeks. Very disappointing. So we get a bunch of liquidity here to wipe, definitely more than to the upside. But remember, this is just 2 weeks, so it's not going to be very comprehensive in what's sitting up here. Yeah, but we were just there, so it should contain the liquidity at the top. And in less than 2 weeks, we've been here. So what we are missing in this picture is everything that happened before the 5th of June and to the downside, because that's the part where we've been. To the upside, we just clear it. So we don't know if there is a big chunk of liquidity sitting below $30 that could be really attractive. We missed that. We can speculate based on order blocks. So below 30, I will say there should be this is quite balanced around here, around $19. There should be a huge liquidation. The 30 is already covered and the 20. This is a bit balanced already, so I wouldn't be so sure. Right, let's go with the next one. Neapolis is saying we are still struggling with the presence of the retail. All the markets are conditioned by the unstable global situation. Considering that July and August are hardly bullish, shall we head down next? Yeah, that's a good question. I am taking measures. I'm being more careful with my longs and all that stuff. You've seen that if I publish a long, it's a lot because everybody wants a long. They don't want just shorts, and I do a long, but I do it very paranoid, very careful, conservative with stop loss and everything. I'm not doing my usual me aggressive because that's probably a year ago. By now, I take a lot more care because I'm not confident that we are going mid-90s. I don't even know where we're going, but I know that there is a huge risk that we go, and that's the thing. So if I enter along, I need to really think before even thinking about where am I going to take profits. I need to think where am I going to then put the next order if it fails, because there is a 50% chances we go there, we go lower. So let's go with the next coin. Hi everyone, Grandad Bitcoin is here. Let's go with the next coin. Let's refresh this to be respectful of the votes. Let's go with AERO. AERO in KuCoin Exchange. Look at that. That is a big move. Here I was hoping for a cap and handle, but look what happened. We never got the handle. So this can go, and without handle, you don't get $4. Definitely not. And the RSIs can go, and we're going to have to add some levels of support and resistance. This one is still valid at, let's say, 0.5. Yeah, it could be 1, 2, 3, and 5. Then you have the lowest level at 288. Halfway through here, there is another one that repeats from the past. We had a double bottom here. We have a weird double bottom, more like a cap and handle there. And we are kind of halfway through towards that target. If we place it like this, is trying to go to $1.2. That is the technical target. It's not the forecast, just the technical target. I'm thinking if this could be a bear flag, like if this is formed like that, could it carry on like this? Well, not that far, right? That's negative, but I'm just trying to see the bear case in there. And we had the breakdown that happened in here in December. We broke down on AERO. It has been bleeding all the way until they found support 30. Longs came back last week, just last week. It's been just bleeding. Socials we don't have. And let me see the daily. We had a breakout on the daily recently. That was probably around the 8th of June. And it's been rallying and breaking out from that 0.76 resistance. So hopefully that 0.76 remains a support. This breakout didn't manage to start from the very bottom. And now we have a heck of a lot of longs in here in the daily. That is the highest it's ever been for AERO. So in February, we were at 55. Now we are at 78. So watch out with the amount of longs in here. Please don't chase it and don't become part of this trap that we are seeing there. Also, the momentum is getting into 70s. You see here at 70s, it goes stall. So it's got some corrections and eventually it can correct up to 40%. So let's say it rallies a little bit more into $1 and then it does a 40% down. That can bring it into 0.6 easily. So careful with that. Liquidation levels. Let's see what's in between 30 to 40% down. And we got at 0.6 a big liquidation level that you need to track and kind of supports an idea of a flash of these longs accumulated there. And let's go with SUI. SUI, I did the video, I mentioned it already. It's just moving around, virtuals. Wow, okay. So last week we were here in the middle. We are still there in the middle between these two levels, which is $2 and 170 or 168. I think we got into the golden pocket. We have some bullish targets, but we haven't broken up yet. Let me see this on the daily. It's also putting on the daily a head and shoulder, this time with the neckline at 162. I think I'm expecting the outcome of all these communal head and shoulders across all the crypto space to do the same, pretty much the same. They're going to rhyme with each other. If we do the liquidity hunt on Bitcoin and then we go for highs, everybody else is going to do some shape of that. So there's no much need to do too much TA in that sense. I don't think Bitcoin is going to break out and then the rest of the altcoins are just going to do the technical target. They're just going to exaggerate what Bitcoin does, I think. On the level that we need definitely to defend is 1.6. It's not a big deal if we go lower, I will say, because this is a very, very small bull flag. It's a very bullish if we manage to break out from here defending 0.6. If we go lower, it's not yet the end. And on virtuals, where is that liquidity in the past 2 weeks? There is nothing on the 2 week. I guess, yeah, we got that 1.5, some liquidity, but it's not that much. I need to reduce the percentile to see it. Yeah, it's more or less at 1.52, and that is the beginning of this. But I think I need more liquidation levels because this happened on end of April, so probably we're not seeing that part. Let's go with the next one. It's good to hear your personal take on the longs. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Let's go with Ondo. That comes next. Ondo has a pretty ugly shape in here. So we have higher lows, which is the good thing. We have a higher high in here. But this high that we are producing against 112 is the one I don't necessarily like. Let's connect this like that. Because this was definitely a breakout, but it went too far down. It's defending kind of the last line in the sand, obviously, right? So we are losing the ascending support. We are losing potentially the 0.72, which is horizontal. horizontal. And then once you enter in here, you're putting a new low. So, for Ondo, that's not great. So we are stretching it too much in the bearish case. And you can see that after that breakout, instead of really completing the revenge rally and reclaiming the support, which we should have done if we go beyond 112, we saw an ugly rejection. So the momentum from going all the way to 51, which crosses the 50, putting you back into something decent, instead of that, we go back down to 40, 42.7 or 42.5, and the lowest is 40.52. So all we have by now is a higher low in the momentum and a higher low in the price. But watch out, because that could change. And I suspect if it changes together with losing the support horizontal in here, it's even gonna look uglier, like with a body candle right there. Ugh. No, I mean, not that we cannot reclaim that with a liquidity hunt, but with this price action, retail is just gonna puke and hopefully and potentially go to 0.6. Hopefully not. Bitcoin can save the day, definitely there, but with all these uncertainties, is not really helping the health of Ondo. Liquidations, hopefully we don't find something right there at 0.6. That's not bad. On the 1 month, there's not much below the price. That's because in 1 month we haven't been there, so we are not really catching what there is here. It's a false negative potentially. When were we here? That was 7th of April. Okay, makes sense. So it's not capturing it. We have the 3 months. Let's bring it in then. Okay, so let's reduce this. Because there was a huge liquidation in 82, but that happened in end of May. So that's spoiling the percentile. I'm gonna have to reduce it a lot to see the rest. So consider that the big liquidation already happened and that there are some leftovers that the price has been coming for. And what we need to assess here, if they're still decent enough to continue coming back down. And my first answer, just looking at this picture and ignoring everything else, I will say there is not that much left. So it's a lower probability to go there than the probability there was to go to 1, 2, and 3. To the upside, I will say now we have a bit more at $1. And $1 is, located around here. So that if we go for that $1, definitely we form a double bottom larger than this that we form in here. Let me show you how it needs to look. So let's say we do this and we go into $1 and we close beyond that, then we get the breakout. So I will say accumulation below these areas, in the areas of panic selling and towards the 0.6. If you get lucky, you're gonna be in a way better position than the rest of the longs that are still holding. Let's go with the rest. What is next? We have Ethereum, which I covered yesterday. Let's see how it's doing today in case anything changed. We are pretty much in the same position as every single week, just going sideways, and we need to break this resistance. We are re-entering an area of value in here, just as much valuable as it was around here, but slightly below, so kind of breaking down a bit. And there has been accumulations on spot ETFs. There is an opportunity. I wouldn't buy this area, but if I was sitting on my hands, which I'm not, I will look for an entry in the golden pocket or in the support of 2.2. So we haven't done a retest of 2.2, 2.1. So that could be a great entry in this vicinity if you don't have Ethereum. But I suspect, retail is not going to buy Ethereum. It's going to be institutions that if they know something that we're going to go to 4K, they're going to buy it. And they are, right? Retail is still discussed about the performance of Ethereum. All right, let's keep Ethereum because there's 2 Ethereum videos today. Cardano, I just published one. We're just, breaking down in here. It looks ugly. It's not a great situation, and it's looking like we could visit 0.5. Link I did 2 days ago, and we're still holding the support on $12, $13. There is a head and shoulders, of course. Why not? Everybody can do a head and shoulders to be cool today. And this one has the neckline at 13, and the technical target is around $8, $7.69. Let's see the liquidations today on Link. There shouldn't be that much. Yeah, around there. So around $11.7 is the recipe to do the liquidity hunt. The recipe of basically swiping the low, reclaiming, and going up for next levels. I give preference to that, assuming that we don't get a black swan event. I think the markets are currently spooked by geopolitical tensions and all of that. Everybody, but there hasn't been any sell-off, right? So general markets are just holding there with weekly resistance. If they were really, really, really scared, we will have gotten a rejection from resistance, but we are just sticking there. And that's the main reason why Bitcoin is still holding 100K. If general markets got that rejection and the volatility index exits from the double bottom I've been showing, then this can definitely break down too. And if general markets do a deep correction, then the head and shoulders hit the technical target to the downside. It's just that in the bull market, we don't meet technical targets of head and shoulders. We usually liquidity hand them. That's it. And we carry on up. That's why I have that bias. But if, general markets lead to the downside, there's no way that we don't achieve it. And this coin that I never done, oh my God, guys, why do you send these coins? I hope you're not holding this. Look at that. I think I did the 8 of this before. There's some rubbish around there. Wow, look at that. Support lost. Every single low becomes the next high. And I'm adding new lines. And I hope that in the next months, I don't need to come here and continue putting, lines in all these areas. Hopefully not. We don't have any reference to the past. We've never been below 0.1. And now we are at 0.0971. And let's see what I can do. Let me see if it's gonna make sense to do something like this. No, it's probably not. It's gonna go too far. Let's clean that. That bounce is so shallow. It's giving very little to go up to clear imbalances, but there is still not a dead cat bounce. Let me see how big was this dead cat bounce from here. Oh, sorry, it's the other one. From the lows there to these highs, we couldn't get to the golden pocket. I put it upside down, but it never mind. Well, let's do it correct. We still have some time, so I can have some fun. So we got, what is that level? 0.5. I need less than that. So that is less than 0.3. Less than 0.3. Okay. So let's say this bounced, but now from here, and we were to do a dead cat bounce. So the previous one got to 0.236. It didn't do the 0.382. And if we do it from where we are, and we do a 0.382 or slightly below it, we get to 26 cents. That is a decent move, actually. That's a move of 173%, but this is a falling knife. Of course, the reward is huge if you enter at the very lows, but at the same time, the risk is even bigger. What's going on with the momentum? I think I was doing this on the daily. Yeah, let's remove all these things. On the daily, it looks ugly. It looks like it was recovering in momentum and then it broke down. And on the weekly, there's not much, but we have a pivot. Okay, cool. That's an advantage because we can place this like that on the weekly and look for a momentum breakout, a global one there. So a breakout like this. Okay, so we have a potential bullish divergence incoming on this coin because you have these highs and the price is going lower. And if we form that pivot there and then we follow through with a breakout weekly, that could be very, very strong. And remember, I don't trade the breakout. I look into adding in a position. I won't do it with this coin. I don't like doing it with a falling knife that doesn't have any history in the past, and I don't know anything about this coin. But that's my fully honest opinion. Liquidation levels, there won't be any because there's no history below that price, so it's not worth looking at. So let's go with the next coin. Gosh, guys, you keep voting and you're flipping the order of all the coins. So I did virtuals Ondo. I haven't done PURR. It reminds me of the Big Bang 30 when they sing "Sweet Kitty, blah blah blah, kitty, little ball of PURR." I think it says that. Anyways, maybe I'm crazy. This PURR thing has been rejected by 32 and is holding decently around the 50 Fibonacci. We got the lowest levels in here. Do we have support in here? There's no confluence. Which low has been respected below? None. We got the volume weighted moving average at around 20. We are respecting this. So if this goes back into 32, we get the perfect cap and handle, which I think I was talking about in this coin back in the day when we had that move into 146. And I was saying, well, if we go there, we produce a very bullish target, but we didn't go there. So we didn't get that signal. And this ended up going to a new low. And when it comes to PURR, we are holding decently so far in here. Hopefully we respect the lows of 21 and this becomes just a weekly pullback that gets bought up and goes back into 32 for continuation to the upside. Do we have liquidation levels levels on this because there's recent price action around there. Not on the 3 month, not on the 1. There's nothing. Yeah, these are crazy coins that I'm happy to review, but you cannot do really proper TA with this. These are just gambles that you're most than welcome to do with less than $100. ADA, I just published a video, link. Let's see if anything is changing. I think on link we are just holding the same support as the past week, which is 12.71. There is the head and shoulder with the target of 7. I think I already covered it, but just the coins are flipping. Let's go to PYTH or PYTH. I already did it. Next one is near. Okay, so on the weekly we're getting a signal, and it's the only signal we have in the whole history. Wow, crazy. There must be a point of interest where we are with near. We're looking to that. So we have this falling wedge that broke out, went into 3.3, and it got rejected, lost the support of 2.5, and now is potentially putting a higher low, hopefully a 2.1. And at the same time, it's getting a signal. That signal is coming from the delta because we are crossing below both percentiles for longs versus shorts. So that is definitely some sort of capitulation for the longs of this coin that moved from 78. Now we are at 27, and it's been lower than that, but in June 2022 at that point we were at 12, which is half this, but that was a bear market. Okay, so can it go lower? Well, if we go to bear market, yes, but if you are in a bull market, this should be an opportunity. I'm not saying it is, it should. In terms of socials, just flat in the low end, I will say. RSI had the internal breakout and it was a painful one. Then it started going up like this and it broke down from that micro trend, and we're still trapped within the global resistance on the weekly. So the best scenario that we can hope for is to start building a double bottom with a neckline around $3. And particularly considering how many people capitulate in here, we should be thinking maybe we're gonna buy the extreme panic, considering that is even though we are at those lows of longs, is not yet managing to take the previous low. So you get that divergence in place, that it could be a good signal. Okay, non-financial advice, you decide your own things, but it could be an opportunity. And let's see liquidation levels on near. Hopefully this time we have some. And Mokelemo is asking for Fartcoin. Let's see if we can manage to do that. There's still some time. Yes, some 12 minutes. So at $2, there is a decently sized liquidations on the 3 month on near. So that in confluence with already being signaling that the longs are capitulating. If we go to $2, that's still a higher high relative to 1.8. So I will say it's an opportunity to enter. Now consider that this has lower highs than March and February 2024. So it's not the best looking coin. So if you enter on this, trade it, but with those considerations in mind in terms of expectations for how high it can get if it really not being able to reach higher. That's why I left this line in here. So you push down those expectations to 7.2 unless something really dramatically changes in the behavior of this coin. And near, I cover it. I should do Ton. It was in the menu, and then Fartcoin. Ton. So there were tons of FUD with this coin because of they took the CEO of Telegram in France, then they released him, and since then it went from $82 into 2.3. That was really painful. Has it recovered? Not yet, really. It's still defending the lows of 2.2. It's defending the previous highs before this bump. We got an extension of one at $8 and Golden Pocket at $13, but there is not yet sign of anything really good. We couldn't complete a double bottom. You see that there was intention to do it in here, but it got sold off before reaching the neckline of 3.8, and it started dragging down for comfort against 2.6. Let's see what the RSI is doing. The RSI is breaking down after the breakout. It rolled over and it couldn't cross 44 resistance on the momentum, which previously was support. So it lost it. And on the third attempt, it just gave up and puked here into 39. That has pushed down the longs. Notice that this move in here on the 10th of March was responsible to form the first leg of a potential incoming double bottom. The longs are still there. We are still have a very high concentration of longs, even though the price has come down. They are still holding, or new have entered after the previous one lost. So there is is some persistence going on in there. And let's look at liquidation levels. But there is some decent liquidation up until $2.62, and that might potentially make the trick. 2.6, where is 2.6? So that got formed during this sideways, the 2.6. And if we pinch slightly lower, we're gonna take them out, and around there, we already took some of them, the ones that were at 873, but at 286, but we still have 266. And if we go there, definitely this is going to come down even lower. And the lower it goes, you have less risk for yourself. You don't want to enter overcrowded, I'm insisting. And socials, there is currently a spike in interest. It went to 1.3 in social dominance. Since the price is coming down and it's a spike in social dominance, I consider that something positive. But we have this complex combination of things, of a first rejection against this resistance. There is that liquidity that is heavy at 2.6, I think it was. Yeah. And that is a little bit worrying for this move, because I'm suspectful that we couldn't form the double bottom. Therefore, we are on the way down to take out some of those longs at 2.6. Let's go with Fartcoin. It's written Fartcoin USDT. So we turn this 129 into support. We broke it. Now we turn it into resistance, and we are threatening to confirm it as resistance, in which case the next level of support comes in at around 67 if this continues. This is a response of a breakdown as well from daily RSI. This should last until here. Then we get the breakout, and then it rolls over, turns into resistance, comes back down. Price does the same, but later. So we test resistance on momentum, then we test it on the price here. We should be looking for a setup long at some point in here, but I'm not sure. I don't like trading breakouts on momentum with a very flat line. I prefer when it's a bit more pronounced, the slope, like this. In this case, you can do just local breakouts, some small scalps or swings, but this doesn't look that good. You can see it's similar to the aggressive move up that we have. I think it was it on Hype? Yeah, Hype is doing something like this. It hasn't broken down. This one already did, and it came back for a revenge test of that. Now coming back down. If it follows through with a lower low below 85, then definitely it's gonna make it to 67.6. That was the previous support in here. That's kind of what's going on. Let's see if longs are already out of the way. Many of them, not enough compared to this. Relative to 31, we are at 36, but I will say a lot of them, definitely, because this has already done a 31%. This drawdown is 47. So if we did a 47 in here, we get to 0.8. Just comparing pairs with pairs and apples with apples. And let's see the liquidations. Oh, wow. At $1, we have a decent liquidation there. Let's see, 98. But liquidations are very, very pronounced up until 65. And 65, pretty much all the way down. $1 is the biggest. And we're kind of almost around there if we haven't already taken that down. One is the biggest that is in the way for coming back up or doing anything significant. But there's still fun to go up until 67, as I said. And if general markets and everything remains in the negative, it's not that difficult for this coin to carry on. It has done 30, it can do 40, 50, get here. This could turn into an A, B, C, and the C could be somewhere around there. Who knows precisely? Yeah, but it seems to be that the intention. Judging as well by all this liquidity sitting there. All right, so I think I cover everything, and I give you 3 minutes of your time back, unless you have any other question. Let me see. I got a message. No, that's all good. So thanks so much, guys. Remember that we do this on a weekly basis. If you're watching this live stream and you're watching it recorded on Friday or later, that means that you're not part of the community, and you can join as an elite member and be part of selecting the coins that we do every week. Next week, though, there's not gonna be this. There's gonna be something else, and I think we're gonna do it every last Thursday of the month, which is basically doing a little bit more technical stuff. We're gonna look into PineScript. We're gonna see how to do some tricks with PineScript, how to do some signals, maybe how to backtest stuff. I'm gonna populate the poll unit with some suggestions of topics. Yeah, and instead of voting for coins, you're gonna vote for which topics you like the most. or you can add your own topics, but within the context of PineScript on TradingView, okay? Writing code and all of that. So see you next Thursday, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye. Take care.